Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Board Game Captain.
And I'm Lynn, and today we are going to be reviewing and showing you how to play Shuffling Horror Roswell 51. It is a game by Larry Wickman. It is published by Game with Games. Oops, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
It is for 3 to 13 players. It's a very large number.
Yeah, it's got a lot of variety in the player size there.
Says that it is around 75 minutes long and for ages 14 plus.
So let's start there with those descriptions. Now, the 3 to 13 players is a crazy range in the number of players you can play this game. And something I really have to say, though, so this is a one versus many game where you are playing out like a 50s sci-fi horror movie.
Yes.
And the thing is, as each player gets to take a turn before the director, who is the one who is versing all the players, goes, the number of players you're playing, the more you have, the easier it is to win for the players, whereas the less you have, the harder it is to win for the players. So I'm not sure if that's like an adjustable difficulty or if that's a lack of scaling well. What is your opinion on that?
I don't know.
I think there might be a bit of an issue with scaling. I think there's a sweet spot in around like maybe 3 to 7. Too many makes it way too easy.
There's also the points where the more players you have, the less are in that big pool.
That does help the scale. So so you do get less points for the players for more players. So that's true. Okay. So but I also think it does seem to be easier and easier for the players the more players you have on this.
Yeah.
Because we have played this with a fair number of players, and the more you play with, the easier it seems to be.
But the more players you have, the less character cards you have in the deck, and the more likely that there will be pod players because they won't have a character, and then the deck will be empty.
That's true.
There'll be a pod player.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair point. All right, so, but what about now the 14 and up? I think is actually a good estimate. What do you think?
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this game.
Yeah.
And while the attacking and damage isn't very difficult, there's so many things that are happening all at once, basically.
You know, I think you could be a bit younger if you're playing as a survivor, but definitely if you're the director, you need to be a teenager or higher because there is a lot to keep track of for the director. And now, what is the
75 minutes?
That might be a little short. This is more like a 2-hour game for me. What do you think? It's a bit longer than that usually.
Yeah, but I mean, because each reel has a set number of cards.
Yeah, but I mean,
it kind of.
With new players, it's definitely going to be at least 2 hours.
Yeah.
It might get quicker with experience and get it down to that 75 minutes, but I hate when they don't give a range because there should always be a range.
Yeah.
And 75 minutes is too specific to be accurate at all. So
I don't even think it says like plus. No, it just says 75
yeah,
minutes.
And I think, again, with new players, it's going to be longer. So why don't we open it up and show what comes in the box here.
Okay.
So the first thing we have
the game book that looks like a newspaper.
Which I want to say, now the fact that they set it up to look like a old 50s newspaper when you have this 50s sci-fi horror movie theme is really cool.
It's the Roswellian is what it's called.
Though it is
Roswellian Star.
It is black and white. I don't really fault it specifically
well, that's
for
thematic.
That. Yeah, it's very thematic. That's why I don't fault it for that. It does have lots of diagrams, but we were just talking before doing this video about the way this is set up. Why don't you say what you told me?
Well, it's set up where it'll have it'll be going through the turn sequence, and then the turn sequence will be on page 4. And it'll say, oh, this is the special thing. See page 17 for more information. It just tells you what you can do.
But then it jumps
go
around.
It doesn't go into detail. You have to go to page 17 to read the detail. And it's kind of, you have to flip back and forth a whole bunch.
Which can be a little, jumping around can be a little tough to keep track of everything. And there are a lot of rules in here. This is 21 pages of rules. There's a lot in here to keep track of. It's not the worst rule book ever, but they could have organized it a little better. So I'd say it's maybe middle of the road.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got.
We have the game board.
Now this is my favorite component. of this game. Hands down, this game board is gorgeous. I love the fact that it's thematically looks like all the horror movie stuff, and because Shuffling Horror is actually a series of games with different themes. They have the other one, Pittsburgh '68, and they have some other ones coming out. They have a Cthulhu themed one. They've got stuff on here that reference all the different cinematic universes that it's going to be in. In addition, it looks like you're in a drive-in, which this board is awesome. I absolutely love this game board. I think this is. They did not have a game board in Pittsburgh '68. And they should have, because this is awesome. This is definitely...
It folds really strangely.
It does fold really strangely, though. I have trouble figuring out how to get it all... Like, once you've opened it, I have trouble figuring out how to get it back closed. And
then, some dice.
Some standard six-sided dice. If you've seen six-sided dice, you've seen them.
Bag of tokens. It's mainly points, but there's also dynamite sticks and...
These are just round, punch-out cardboard tokens. If you've seen those in a game, you've seen them.
And then cards, the bottom ones are the extra ones.
Let's show what the backs of the cards look like. That is the back of the cards for Shuffling Horror Roswell 51. And then the artwork on... Now
that's not a card.
Oh, that's not a... Oh,
I was trying to tell you that the bottom ones were like extra cards.
Oh, okay. So let's show what someone...
You grabbed an extra card.
My mistake.
See, like, this is a character. There's the librarian.
And their stats are very clearly noted below them. It's easy to see. You roll 2 dice and want to equal or less than the stat. So the higher the stat, the better.
Then we have some aliens.
Now, the aliens have a number where the higher the number, the better, because everything they roll on, plus how much damage you have to do on them, is based on that number. So that was a very weak alien at a 2, whereas this is a very tough alien at a 7.
The alien warlord
is he the toughest?
He's got a special rule on the bottom.
Yeah, he's an 8. So that's a look, and then we've got some weapons too.
Yeah, weapons. There's a
which weapons let you normal attacks use strength, but weapons let you use other stats for their attacks, and then sometimes do extra damage.
Yeah.
So now let's without any further ado, because that's basically everything that comes in the box. Let's head over to the table. We're going to run you through a few turns and show you how this game plays. Then we're going to come back and we're going to review it and rate it.
Here is the setup for Shuffling Horror Roswell 51 for 3 players. You have the director and then 2 players. They each get their own character. After you shuffle up the character deck, you place them here, and then you randomly deal out 1 survivor to each player. Each player also gets some communal points that they can use. They can share those with other players. The robot is special. He starts with his own personal points that he can use only for himself.
Though the coroner, who the other player got, does not. Normal survivor cards do not get extra points as a starting survivor.
And then you place the dynamite on one corner in case that comes up. We have the reel numbers here for remembering what reel we're on. There are 4 reels. Then we have the points that are like hit points for the sanctuaries, if the sanctuaries ever come up. And then we have a communal pot of extra points and dice, of course. And then to do the reel, you shuffle the rest of the cards. Each reel has a certain number of cards that it lasts for. Reel 1 is 10 cards, so you deal out 10 cards into the reel deck, and then you deal 3 cards onto the screen.
But not from the reel deck, from the extra card.
Not from the reel deck, from the extra ones. And that starts the opening sequence, is what it's called. And the thing that happens that can only happen in the opening sequence is if there is a monster card, the director can immediately take that and add it to a throng.
So this throng will have the marching sentries, which look like some insect people Martians with a power level of 5, already in that throng.
And then it gets immediately replaced, and it does get replaced face up, although from now on it's going to be replaced face down. It's just that you need 3 face up cards to start, and then they're numbered. And some of the things have to have immediate effects. And it goes, if there's multiple, like there's a plot device that has an immediate effect. If you have multiple plot devices, you go in the order. But there's not. There's a monster, there's an item, and there's a plot device.
Yes.
So now this one says, it's the director's choice. You play now or you discard it. And it's if there's a sanctuary in play, the director can immediately hit it for 2d6. There's no sanctuary, it's the first turn, so I'm going to choose to immediately discard it. And then I replace it again.
Another plot device.
It's another plot device. This is a player's choice. The survivors must succeed at 3 brains tests made by any combination of survivors.
Now, we don't have enough survivors for that, because there's only 2, so I guess we're going to have to discard that one as well.
All right. And now we have a big wrench.
Okay.
So now that is the opening scene, and play starts to the director's left and goes clockwise.
Okay, so in which case the survivors go next. Now the robot, I think the robot would like to take and attack with their first action. So what they're going to do, now we're looking here, we've got a big powerful guy here on the screen, and we've got a less powerful guy up here. Now this guy though, he's really kind of scary. My robot might be the only person who can take him out. So I think the robot's going to go for him. So he's going to take the big wrench, which will give him +1 damage if he hits. And this is going to be his whole turn's action. When you do a take and attack, if you had multiple survivors, which you can have up to 3 survivors, just like the director can have up to 3 monsters in a throng, you can usually take an action with each. But if you do something called to take an attack, either by taking an item and attacking, or taking a new survivor and attacking with them, that's all you get to do for that entire player's turn. So having only 1 survivor, it's not that big a deal though to give up the possible actions by the other survivors that aren't there. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to take this wrench and club the Outer Space Terrors. I replace the wrench with a face down card that's going to go face up at the end of my turn. Now the robot needs to roll equal to or less than its muscle to successfully hit, which is an 8 or less. It's fairly likely to happen. But then I need to roll 1d6 to do damage, and I'll get +1 to that roll, and I need to get at least a 7 to kill it, so that's pretty tough. Now, if I happen to roll a success and roll doubles, like if I roll 2 3s, that will add 3 damage to the damage roll. In addition, if I roll Snake Eyes, that's going to be a critical hit and automatically kill it, regardless of how much damage it would normally take to kill. And a Boxcars is a critical failure, in which case it'll get a free attack back at me. But I may spend points to either decrease the difficulty of the attack or increase the damage I would do after the attack. In this case, I'm pretty likely to hit, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend 3 points to increase the damage, which will give me a total with my wrench of +4 damage. Now, without any further ado, let's see if I can do this. I need an 8 or less. I got a 5. That is a success. 5 is a hit, but no extra damage on that. So I roll 1d6 for the damage, and because of my 3 points and my wrench, I'm going to get to add 4 to it. And I rolled a 4. That is 8 total. That is more powerful than the Outer Space Terrors, so they are discarded and then replaced with a face down card. Now, I am all done. That is all I had to do. So now that my turn is over, the face down cards will go face up, and we found 4 dynamite sticks, as well as these 3 strange neighbors, which are some bad guys for the bad guy player. Now, I'm taking a look over there, and I could, with the coroner, I could possibly use the dynamite sticks, because unlike a normal attack that uses muscles, the dynamite sticks could either use brains or guts, and the coroner has a pretty darn good brain stat. So I might grab that and just do an attack with the dynamite to try to take down maybe the 5 marching sentries, or I could pull another character out. I think, you know what, I think I'm going to go for the dynamite sticks, because that actually makes the coroner pretty good. So after 4 sticks are used, you return this to the discard pile. Damage is d6 times the number of sticks that you declare how many sticks you throw in the attack. So I'm going to take this, give it to the coroner. He gets 4 sticks, 1, 2, 3, 4. And he is going to attack the 5 marching sentries. So now he gets to roll a brains test for this attack. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw 2 sticks of dynamite at the 5 marching sentries. So I need You know what? I'm also going to spend 1 point to make it 1 bit easier. So I'm going to use one of my communal points up here. So now I need an 8 or less to hit, and as long as I hit, it'll do 2d6 damage to the marching sentries. Oh, I fail. I missed the marching sentries. Now, as I did a take and attack, I am all done. And we flip up, and another marching sentries, 5 marching sentries comes up, and it is the director's turn.
I am going to take those 5 marching sentries and
start a new throng.
And they're going to attack. It's a take and attack.
So who are they going to attack?
They are going to attack the coroner.
Oh, the poor vulnerable coroner. Okay, so you need to roll a 5 or less. Let's see what happens.
No.
No, so you miss me. So, all right, flip up our new card. Let's see what we've got. Oh, a lot of big...
Alien ray gun.
Yeah, a lot of nice weapons coming out here. So the robot is going to... attack the first of the 5 marching sentries, trying to make a swipe at him. Needs to get a 8 or less. Succeeds with a 7. And then needs to roll at least a 4, because a 4 with the +1 damage from the wrench would be enough for the 5 strength 5 marching sentries, but misses with a 3. Now the coroner is going to find us another survivor. So they're going to pull another survivor out who's going to immediately attack one of the 5 marching sentries. And it is the colonel. Now that's actually pretty good, because the colonel has a muscle of 7. So the colonel is going to take a swipe at the first of the 5 marching sentries. He needs to roll a 7 or less to hit. But unfortunately, the dice are not with me today. But I still got another survivor out, so that's not too bad. So now it is the director's turn, and unfortunately, the bad guys are starting to group up here. We're getting a bunch of them.
Yes, I am going to not take a screen card. I'm going to do an all-out attack, which means that I attack with every monster in a throng.
Oh, boy.
So, I'm going to attack with the 5 marching sentries. I'm going to attack coroner, because I do not like his dynamite.
Do not like the coroner's dynamite, huh?
No.
Oh, and that is a whiff. I don't know if you can see that. That is box cards, which means the coroner gets a free attack right back at the 5 marching sentries. The coroner decides to throw his pair of dynamite right at the 5 marching sentries. So he's going to remove the 2 last dynamite sticks and get rid of this. He needs to roll 7 or less. I'm going to spend a point to up it to 8 or less to make it easier. I succeed with a 7, that works. Now, since I use both dynamite, that is, I get 2d6 for the damage. Let's see if I can blow up those marching sentries. Yes, I blew them up with 7 damage. So that kind of backfired for the director.
Yes. So I am still going, well, I did an all-out assault. So he's going to attack, let's see. Let's go with the robot.
Attack the robot? Oh, my. Nope, you missed because you needed a 5 or less. Okay, so it's back to the robot's turn, and the robot is going to make an attempt to club those 5 marching sentries again. But you know what? I'm going to spend one of the robot's personal points to up the damage if I hit. So let's see. So, well, unfortunately, I missed with an 11. That was really bad. So now it is my characters over here. The coroner is going to take the alien ray gun for his turn, and that's all he's going to do because I did not do a take and attack. I just did a take. And then the colonel is going to do an attack with his muscle, and he is... Oh, I forgot, when a new character comes up, they're supposed to get 3 points.
Yes.
I did not give the colonel his starting points. He's going to use some of those for this attack, though. So he needs a 7 or less to hit. So you know what he's going to do is he's going to use one of the points to make it an 8 or less, make it much more likely to hit. And then he's going to use the other 2 points to give bonus to damage. So it's an 8 or less to hit and +2 to damage if it hits, trying to take down those marching sentries. So that's a 7, that's a hit. No extra damage though, because there were no doubles. And now he needs to roll, he gets 2 extra damage, which means he only needs to roll a 3 or better to take down the marching sentries. And he does. The marching sentries go down. So it's back to the director's turn again.
Ooh. Is a cattle prod.
Cattle prod.
Well, the director is going to take the 3 strange neighbors and attack with them. They are going to attack the Colonel. Nope.
Nope, they needed to roll a 3 or less. They're pretty weak bad guys, actually. So now let's see what we have here. Oh, Outer Space Terrors. They're very powerful bad guys. They have a 7, so they need to, 7 damage needs to be done to them to kill them, and they get to roll 7 or less for fighting back, which is very powerful, actually. So what I'm going to do now, having a look out here, is I'm going to start with the robot player is going to try to bring down the 3 strange neighbors. He needs an 8 or less to hit. Wow, the robot player is really unlucky with those dice, which is terrible. Over here, I'm going to have the Colonel pick up the flamethrower, but not attack, just pick it up, which has the last card come out there, while the coroner is going to use the alien ray gun on the 3 strange neighbors. He's going to use his brains for it, which means he just needs to roll a 7 or less. And unfortunately rolled an 8, and he whiffed as well.
Okay, so I, as the director, am going to take an attack with one of the Outer Space Terrors.
Those are frightening.
I am going to add him to the first throng.
Oh boy.
And so...
So now you need your attack is what, a 10 or less for that now?
Yes.
Who is he attacking?
He is going to attack, let's go with the Colonel, because I don't like the look of that flamethrower.
I do like the flamethrower. Well, that's a hit.
Yes, it is.
Okay, and let's see damage. Be a 1, please be a 1. It's a 2.
It's a 2.
You know what? I'm going to spend 2 points to ignore the 2 damage. So now it is the robot player's turn, and things are looking a little scary over there. I'm going to try to bring down really quickly, if I can, this down to size. So the robot player is going to take a swipe at the 3 strange neighbors to weaken that group of bad guys. It's much easier to take down the 3 strange neighbors than the Outer Space Terrors. So let's, we're going to give that a shot. Here we go. Oh, man, the robot player just cannot catch a break. I think I'm going to try the black dice now. So the robot player missed again. So the Colonel is going to attack with the flamethrower. He gets 2 attacks. For the first attack, I'm going to attack the strange neighbors. Straight up roll. It uses guts, so I need an 8 or less because he has an 8 gut stat. Let's see if I can hit. Oh, boxcars. That is not only a whiff, they get a free attack back at me. Which they boxcard. So not I guess that chains. I guess I get another free attack back at them. Okay, 8 or less.
Are they just?
These dice are cursed.
They're
Keep
just
going.
slapping each other back and forth.
Yeah, this is
No.
Okay, so you missed. All right, I'm gonna do my second attack on them. Come on, dice. There we go. Not only is that a hit, that's 3 bonus damage, which means I get a d6 plus 3. They should be, yeah, they're toast.
Yeah, there's no way they weren't going to
They were gone. Okay, now the coroner is going to try to take a shot at the Outer Space Terrors with the ray gun using his brain stat. So now with the ray gun, it damages 2d6. Select the higher. If they're doubled, you add them together. So what they're going to do is they're going to try to do that. They're going to spend a little though. They want to make sure this hits, so they're going to spend 1 point to make it an 8 or less. So 8 or less. And they still failed. So it is back to the director's turn.
So the director is going to take an attack with the Outer Space Terrors. They are going to attack the Colonel. And that's a hit.
That is a hit.
So now the damage is going to be 5.
Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, so that's a bit rough. 5 is a lot. And I don't want to lose the Colonel right now. Now my choices are I can spend 5 points, which I don't even have. I'd have to borrow some from the other player. to avoid the damage, or I could try to do a speed test, and if I succeed, I can get away. But my speed is only a 5, which is not very good. On the other hand, I could put a few points into upping the speed. I'm going to talk it over with the robot player, and we decide that the Colonel with his flamethrower is far too valuable to let die right now, and he's going to give me some points to help me out. So he's going to give me 3, 2 from here, and we're going to ignore it. Unfortunately, that makes us a little low on points now. Okay, so is the director done?
Yes.
Okay, so in which case it's the robot's turn, and the robot is going to take a swipe at one of these outer space terrors. He's going to spend a point to up the likelihood to hit because he's rolling terribly, so he needs a 9 or less. And then he's going to spend 3 points to up the damage. So 9 or less, he hits on a 6, and now he got +4 to the damage, 3 from the points and 1 from the big wrench. So he only needs a 3 or better. And he gets it. So the robot drops one of the outer space terrors. Now over here, I'm just going to take a bunch of random chances, I think, to hit the outer space terrors. I'm completely out of points on this side. So the Colonel is, the Colonel has basically no chance to hurt the outer space terrors unless he rolls Snake Eyes. So what he's going to do actually is he's going to rest to get 2 points back. And then the Coroner has a better chance because doubles on the ray gun will add their damage together. So he has a much better chance of hurting the outer space terrors. Actually, the Colonel could have, if he rolled not just Snake Eyes, but maybe 2s or 3s, he could have gotten bonus damage, but it was very unlikely, which is why I just moved on to the Coroner. So the Coroner is going to take a shot with the ray gun. He's just going to roll a straight up shot, which unfortunately he rolled an 11 and missed.
So now the director is going to do an all-out attack with my 1 monster. And that's a 7, yeah. So
you're supposed to declare who you attack.
In my head, I was attacking the robot.
Okay, so 7 on the robot.
5.
5 damage. Well, the robot is going to flail. He uses his muscle to flail instead of speed like normal people do, and he's going to boost that by 1, so he needs a 9 or less to avoid it, and he does with a 5. So now the robot goes, and the robot is going to boost the damage by 1 and try to take a swipe at the outer space terrors, at which point he succeeds with a 6, and now he gets +2 to the roll total, 1 for the point and 1 for the wrench, and he kills the outer space terrors. Back into it then. Okay, so now over here, I've got a little bit of a reprieve going on because there are no monsters out, and the new reel doesn't start until the pile here is empty. So I can do a couple things to help myself out. So I'm going to rest with both my characters and get some points back, at which point it is the director's turn.
The director has nothing.
The robot player is going to take an attack with a survivor, which there's no one to attack, so they're going to take the librarian and get them out there. At which point it's back to the characters over here. Now there is a speed-based caliprod, and I want to wait for the librarian to be able to get that because it's speed-based and she has the best speed. So they're going to rest again and take a couple more points. This bit of reprieve doesn't happen every game because sometimes there'll be 3 monsters as the last cards and then they're knocked out. But when you get a chance to get a reprieve like this, it's a good idea to build up some points as you go. So the director, again, has nothing they can do. The robot's going to rest and take a couple points back. And the librarian is going... Oh, the librarian, who is supposed to have started with 3 points because they were a second character I picked up, is going to take the cattle prod. At which point the second reel will begin. How does the second reel begin?
So first you place the fade-in marker on the character that is going to start the next reel. Then you move these tokens over and remove the top one. That's just a reminder what reel you're on. Reel 2 gets 20 cards, so you shuffle up all the cards again. You deal out 20 into the reel, and then 3 onto the screen, and...
Just like with the first reel.
Just like the first one.
Except that this reel is twice as big as the first reel.
So that's the reel, and then
Opening scene for Act 2. Let's
well,
see.
there's the opening scene was just for the beginning, so that doesn't happen. The monsters don't go directly into that.
I used the wrong terminology. My mistake. Okay.
And then whoever the fade-in token is on is going to start their turn. There is a plot device, so that's it's a director's choice. Play now.
So the director would decide whether or not to play it, and we would move into the second reel. So now, why don't you go over how it is that either the director or the players would win this game?
The director would win if all the players are pod players. You become a pod player when the survivor deck has no more survivors in it, and a player loses all their characters and there's no survivor to replace. They become a pod player. And they help the director. They get their own little throngs in front of them and can attack the other player characters. So when the director and the number of pod players equals or is more than the remaining regular survivors, it's called the turning point. And what happens is the survivors have one turn each to clear the screen. And if they're able to, that ends the reel. And so that's a way how you can end reel 1, 2, or 3 early, and kind of get the whole film moving along and have a better chance of survival.
But that only happens the first time that the number of pod players equal or are more than the number of survivor players.
Yes, and then there's the last one standing is when there's only one survivor left.
And that is the survivor cards, not players.
Yes. So they get one turn to do whatever they want.
But survive.
And then the rest of the pod players and director get one turn each to attack them. And if that survivor is still alive at the end of all those attacks, then they win.
Otherwise, the director wins.
Yes.
So there you have it. That is how you play a game of Shuffling Horror Roswell 51. So now we're going to head back, and Lynn and I are going to talk about how this game feels, and we're going to review it and rate it. So that was how you play a game of Shuffling Horror Roswell 51. So now, let's talk about how this game feels. First thing I want to say is
it's very thematic.
It's incredibly thematic. So you're playing through a horror movie, and the way that you have the different reels, just like in reels of a movie, and the different reels are in different sizes. Start out small, then large, then gets much smaller for the later reels. The black and white art is actually quite thematic because you're playing 50s style movies, so the black and white art makes sense. The color art, though, on the board is really nice, and I think the board looks great. So theme-wise and production-wise, I think this game looks and feels really good. I do have some issues with how this game plays, though. So one of my issues is the way the reels are set up. The game drags on for a while, especially through the first couple of reels. The second reel has a lot of cards.
There's 20 cards, yeah.
Yeah, but then when you get to the end, it's one of those things of like, oh, it's over.
Yeah.
And it's like if the players win, it's one of those, oh, we won. Oh, like how'd that happen? Like that has happened multiple times when we're playing. Like we won, and people go, really? Like nobody realized it until we did. Like, oh, that's the last card, we win. So that can be a little weird how you win kind of out of nowhere.
Anticlimactic?
Yeah, it does. It feels a little anticlimactic. Also, weird situations happen with the way the rules are set up, which one of them occurred. There's a few of them like this. But at the end of the first round, while we were showing how to play the game, we had a situation where the last card that was there was a piece of equipment. Usually that many weapons do not come up.
No, that was a lot of weapons.
Yeah, a lot of weapons came up really fast. But when it happened, the players were able to organize it where they could have sat there for a while and just built up a bunch of spoints, which would have made it almost impossible for them to lose.
You have a max amount of spoints though, so.
But still, you see, they could have gotten themselves to max points. They could have also gone and gotten a bunch more survivors, so they could have both had their full 3 survivors at full points. So, I mean, things like that can come up in the rules. There are some weird little glitches in the rules. I don't necessarily think they're overly bad. They're just things you need to be aware of, that sometimes this can happen. And it's a thing. This is
we weren't playing with any of them, but there are advanced rules and alternate rules in the back. So that could also might mitigate some of those depending on what you
Have
put
we
in.
tried any of those?
I don't believe we have.
Okay, so we haven't actually ventured into the advanced rules yet. But now, we've played this a number of times, and I really like the theme. I really like the feel of it. But there are some of these things, these little, like, what I feel are like rules glitches, plus the abrupt nature of it, which holds this game back for me. I do like it, and sometimes we'll play it with you, but I've got issues. I mean, what are you thinking about with this game? Like, how? I mean, I think you like it a lot better than I do.
I mean, it does have issues, and the only time I've been a player is the first time we played it at Gen Con because no one else wants to read the rule book and be the director. So I'm always the director.
Well, you say that, but actually you always jump at the opportunity to be the director.
Right,
I think you like being the director.
I think it's, I mean, how else am I going to get to play it unless I'm the director? No one else wants to do it.
Well, that's fair.
So,
but you do enjoy being the director.
I do enjoy being the director. I forgot what the question was.
Well, talk about the game. Where are you with this game?
My rating?
No, just how you feel about it.
Oh, well, I really like it. I do think I agree with all the issues that you brought up.
Do you just not think they're as big issues as I think they are?
I think I just enjoy it despite the issues.
So you do think they're big issues, you just get more enjoyment out of it, so you're able to overlook them then. All right, so, well, I'm going to give...
I mean, a couple of things didn't come up in our playthrough, like a creature feature never came up because we had so many weapons.
Which is something that happens when you get 3 creatures dealt out on the screen at once. Yeah, and then they all get to it.
They all get to attack.
Yeah, which is crazy. Or which is that can be catastrophic when that happens sometimes. But it also feels thematic because it feels like something that would happen in one of those, B sci-fi movies. And I love all the references to all the different B sci-fi movies. Like they have giant ants, like the movie Them, and the robot survivors, obviously like Robbie the robot and such. Okay, so I enjoy this game. I really enjoy the references, though I think it has issues. I'm at a 6 with this game, which means I like it, but I got to be in the mood to play it. There's some of those glitches are just too much, along with the very abrupt nature of the end, are too much to pulling it back for me to keep me from giving it a 7 or higher. So that's where but I still do enjoy it. Like, I like playing it. I sometimes think it overstays its welcome, and I always think the end comes on way too abruptly and a little bit anticlimactically. But I do like it. I do like the game, and that's why I give it a 6 out of 10. So where are you at this?
I'm going to give it an 8.
Wow!
Because I do really like it. I wish I could play it more and with people who enjoyed it as much as I do. But it does have issues.
But 8 is really high. I mean, that's a really high rating. That means you absolutely adore this game. So, well, there you go. So Lynn gave it an 8. I gave it a 6. There you have it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns on Shuffling Horror Roswell 51, feel free to put them in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this review and tutorial video and you'd like to see us do more like it, be sure to give this video a like, share it on all forms of social media that you may have, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Kaptain. That's Kaptain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.